Hey guys, welcome back. We got a spicy one today. I got a couple of notes. First off, Ole was visiting town and borrowed this deck off of a friend. I do not want to see any overly harsh critiques of his play during this game. As for myself, I don't care. You can always criticize me. I've been playing long enough. When I make mistakes, I can take a beating about it. I am playing some spicy blue-red painter, and I gotta admit, I knew what Ole was on, borrowing this deck from a friend, Cam, before the match started, and it wasn't really very fair of me, but I was going to pilot this deck tonight, and when I saw that it was a pure blue deck, I was like, all right, let's give my 4 red blasts, 4 pyroblasts a little flex here. That's not to say that it's completely easy. I gotta say, this is a chalice build, and blue-red in the main deck has absolutely no way of dealing with a resolved chalice. And that said, Merfolk is very fast. It has its own disruption. They can pack like a powerful clock and then daze and force you out of what you're doing. It's quite a strong deck. It's not very well represented these days. It has every chance of winning almost any matchup except, like, well, when I piloted it, I didn't want to see things like Maverick, Death and Taxes, things like that. Creature-based decks in the format are predominantly better than Merfolk, but Merfolk happens to be blue, and True Name Nemesis can carry a lot of matchups. Anyway, he is mulling to 6 here, and I appear to be keeping a hand of just probably Island, Lightning Bolt, Pyroblast, Force of Will, etc., and maybe Ponder. The way that this deck is constructed, by the way, this is a bunch of islands, 2 volcanics, a couple of mountains, main deck Blood Moons, Brainstorms, Ponders, 3 Grindstone, 4 Painter Servant, 4 Snapcaster, 4 Pyroblast, 4 Red Blast, and that's about it. I mean, there's no real room for anything else. Did I say main deck Blood Moon? Oh, yeah. Basically, this deck is going to try to play a mid-range control sort of game plan, and then resolve Painter Servant, name blue, and then start pyroblasting everything that it sees, and then snapping back all of that. Here we see no shuffle of a Ponder, pass the turn over to my opponent, who plays Cavern of Souls, have to assume it's Merfolk, and then passes. So no Curse Catcher to deal with anything, and no Vial. That's a really big deal here. In a matchup like this, I would prefer to just play Draw Go, and knowing that he's playing... I mean, if somebody names Merfolk against you, then... I mean, honestly, we're just gonna... Ooh, Smuggler's Copter. And that's good. I don't feel too threatened about that. But if somebody is playing Cavern of Souls on Merfolk, then I know that Force of Will is present, so there's no way that we're running out of turn 2 Painter Servant, right? We'll instead run out of turn 3 one and leave up Pyroblast. So Oli elects to Force of Will Painter Servant, and I feel like this is going quite well for me already. Assuming that we left Scalding Tarn up for Pyroblast, Red Blast.
No, it's still on the second.
So you're going to notice during this gameplay, there's a couple of moments when I try to just slow things down a little bit. He is not a legacy player, so please just accept the fact that some of the interactions that a lot of us take for granted are somewhat new to him. I mean, Magic is not new to him at all, but some of the things like I'm going to do a bunch of stuff on the stack while a counterspell is all like still on the stack. He's going to try to, like, you know, clear things away. Force of Will is now targeting Red Blast.
Alright, what's the target on this? On this? Yeah. Alright, this is...
So we're going to let that go.
Alright, and then this is on the stack?
Yeah, and then
I'm gonna force that. Pitching this.
So force, pitching, force. So obviously we're down to very little resources, but I bring...
It
Looks like Grindstone is in the forefront of my hand, so I'm all in on this plan of just trying to resolve Painter Servant Grindstone.
Okay.
And present my deck.
And the last card in Ole's hand, little does he know it at this point, but
Counter on counter on counter.
Chalice on 1 is going to make me almost completely cold.
Any other format is
Seeing as how main deck, there's no way to get around the Chalice, and my Grindstone is 1. So that leaves us with nothing but Snapcaster and Painter Servant beats.
Now, can I use one of these?
Yeah. Is that on 1?
Yes.
Okay. That resolves.
I can't do anything.
So
Pass to you.
from my position here, it appears that I'm very slowly going to die to Smuggler's Copter, and that's it.
It's all planned to bait your mana out.
Yeah.
The only thing that
It really was not.
I don't know. We can't ponder. We can't brainstorm. We don't have any real threats in the deck except for Snapcaster. And although he has no islands out now, and his only way of piloting the Copter is a Mutavault, so, I mean, a timely Blood Moon could bring us out of it. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Okay.
We can attack because there's a Mutavault. And he is now drawing Ether Vial.
It's pretty cool.
There's a little bit of some weirdness here. Okay, so I am not going to allow him to play an Ether Vial into his own Chalice. And here I'm basically saying, don't do that again, but, you know, put that back in your hand.
But then it just fizzles.
But then it will be countered.
Okay. So this is
So
what
like
we use.
my hand, you could probably infer that it's full of 1s.
Most likely.
If I were to like, it's okay for me.
And
to,
we
like,
do a
pass
little
in
bit
front
of
you
discussing
and make
Chalice
sure that
etiquette
you
here.
announce this, right? That's the game. But like, you shouldn't put your own 1-drops on the stack because like
then
you have.
I have to announce. I see. So we would have just waited.
Because then I would have been like.
Yeah. So we just wait here until I realize that it counters my own spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, you like,
Yeah, I can do
you know
this.
the Mutavault.
Yeah, I just realized
Yeah.
that. I'll do that. I
Okay.
make this into a creature.
So here we go ahead and power Mutavault up, and he hops in a Copter.
Like,
If he attacks, I think.
And we both just confirm we know what's going on here.
He hops in here. All right, cool. Sure.
Yes. So you take 3 unless you do something.
Attack me.
Yes.
Do your thing.
Yes.
Sure, no box.
So the Copter comes in, he's unblocked, and now Ole is going to
I was like, what?
Yeah, makes
I was like, what? I discarded it.
start to loot and discard 1-drops, I'm assuming, and he's going to get very far ahead, and I'm going to die to a Smuggler's Copter. In a base blue matchup where I felt like pretty strong.
Then you have this last.
The only thing I can think of now is resolve a Blood Moon
Yeah.
and attack with Snapcaster until he dies, but that plan seems like
Right.
extremely hard to get going. Because the deck has so many basic islands in it, you can't fade Lord of Atlantis forever.
Yeah. I pay 1 to make this into a creature.
Yeah, some kind of creature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anything. All types. And then
And
I
he hops
accrue,
inside. Sure.
and then combat phase I'll attack with him.
I cast a Snapcaster Mage.
I'm gonna test his Chalice.
Result.
Even if, you know, even if this is not a cool thing to do, I'm going to attempt to cast a Red Blast.
Red Elemental.
And I gave ample.
This one. Yeah, I can use this,
I
right?
paused a lot
You don't
there.
use it,
I
right?
kind of
I
I
just
paused
can't
a lot
use it.
more than I would in a normal match. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I'll go to 12.
Okay. So I draw a card.
Yes.
Yeah, 12.
So that was an investment of 1 red for me
I discard.
that I knew I was going to use anyway. So it was kind of a free roll. We were going to cast Snapcaster and try to race here regardless.
Ay, 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 ay.
We see, looking at Ole's hand, that originally I thought that it was a Lord of Atlantis and we should be dead here. But it was actually Silvergill,
I play
and it didn't look like he couldn't cast that previously because he didn't have a Merfolk to reveal.
Combat.
And we drew Blood Moon. So my plan from here, shallow as it may be, is to attack for 3, and try to
Makes all
lock him out.
Non-basic lands. And
He has Island already, so we're basically dead to any Lord. I feel like we're...
Alright.
Oh, he drew Phantasmal Image, so he still can't cast Silver
Okay,
Reveal.
now I've got a rule question.
That's cute. Phantasmal Image can
But I can also
come
make
into play
not anymore.
targeting Snapcaster if he wants, but if I was him, I don't know. He's in such a good position that he could just use whatever. I would hold that Phantasmal Image and just wait for a Lord. But, I mean,
Phantasmal Image remains a 2/2
if you're me in this position and you know that you have no outs to a Chalice on one in game one,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm just waiting for Lord of Atlantis and then I'm going to scoop.
Something like that. Alright, so I don't have blue mana.
You
But
have
he
islands.
drew
You
Silver
have
Guild.
your-
That might be good
These
enough.
I have?
Yes. And those are mountains.
Ah, the non. Okay, these are mountains. Okay, that's cool. Then I tap 2
Okay.
to play Silver Guild Adept, and I show you a Silver Guild Adept.
Okay.
Resource?
Yes.
Okay, then I draw a card. And then I can crew here.
Yep.
He draws into Force of Will, and this is just getting much worse.
Then
So I think we have to remind him of Draw Step from Smuggler's Copter, right?
yes, if I
So did you draw from the Smuggler's Copter?
yes, I have to discard one.
Yes.
Oh, did I?
No.
I did not. You're right. You're right.
And it's Ether Vial, so that's an easy discard.
Yeah, I'll discard Ether Vial.
Okay.
Seems useless.
The writing's on the wall here. There,
Fantastic
I don't
image.
think that there's a reason for
I don't draw a card.
the Painter player here to continue on. Unless I was packing like a Braid or something in the main, there's no way to get rid of that Chalice, and our win con is 1, so...
I'm busted.
It's good, yeah.
It's not like we're going to get any better information. Although, casting Grindstone here is a reasonable play. I think the best way to play this, I don't know what it is that I do here because this is a month ago, but I think
Go ahead.
I think you cast Grindstone and see what he says, and then just concede when he says it's countered.
Curious.
Painter Servant is cool though because he's a 1/3, and that's pretty good.
This
Okay.
tick. 3.
6.
Draw 1. Discard.
Funny enough, though, this game would look a lot closer if it weren't for that Smuggler's Copter that I thought I didn't care about at the beginning.
Yeah, I'll discard Lord of Atlantis.
At this point in the game, wow,
I know.
discards Lord of Atlantis?
Like you got a good hand.
How strong could your hand be?
And I play Master of the Pearl Trident.
Sure.
Merfolk of Pearl Trident.
Oh yeah, well actually I have to draw. No, that was that.
That was that.
Uh,
Yeah, you're good.
okay. And, then
And now he's just
then I-
holding Force. So, we can't win here.
I'm gonna scoop. Good game.
I don't bother casting Grindstone. I'm not sure if that was a conscious decision on my point to not reveal the win condition, even though like most people see Painter Servant and they're like, oh, there's Grindstone in the deck.
City's Blessing.
It's
Yes.
possible
That lots of-
that
buffs lots of cards.
I see.
Like,
it's
basically,
possible
lots of cards that have, like,
that
oh,
I was
the
playing
Oh,
towards him not knowing
Yeah,
what the Painter Servant was for.
flying,
Um,
I see.
it's
That's
not really like.
I don't know. That's something
That's
that
a viable
I would
card.
probably
People
do.
gonna be
Now that I
playing
think
with
about it, yeah, that's probably something that I would
But
do.
actually, like,
Looking back at it, I'm like, oh, why wouldn't the player just try this? I think I'm actually a little shisty, and
Oh.
despite my opponent here being a little new, I think I'm probably just accept that game 1 was hopeless and just take a really quick game 2 is probably the plan.
yeah, that's really weird too.
That's a very healthy hand from him,
Yeah, I
though.
guess I'll keep.
All right, man.
It's a little threat light, but it'll draw him, and it's got Mutavaults and will do its thing.
Oh, yeah. I don't expect.
I want to do things on turn 1.
Yeah, it's like I don't
I'm gonna
expect
shuffle.
it at all. Yeah.
I've got a dead.
Very fast shuffle off the ponder. I have to think that a shuffle that fast, it wasn't that bad, by the way. I saw a glimpse of it. the ponder itself didn't seem especially poor. So a shuffle that fast sort of, to me, indicates that my hand was already strong and I was looking for something better. Or it's only missing like a very specific piece, and I don't want to draw 3 known cards that aren't that. So on the play for game 2, Painter, I'm going to cantrip aggressively, put down basic lands, prepare to play a Painter's Servant, and then a Grindstone with Force of Will and Pyroblast backup. And that's the whole game.
Merfolk.
On the play, I'm also less worried about being under the gun with a unanswerable Chalice when I'm on the draw. So either vial resolves.
Go ahead. Yes.
And with no threat on the board, I'm probably just holding up as much counter magic as I can for a possible turn 2 Chalice. Okay. Honestly, the Merfolk clock can be really, really good. Looks like he passed. So this is a slow hand from him. He's representing Curse Catcher, but, you know, I don't think that he's going to throw it away to a Brainstorm on turn 2.
Do lots of people counterspell Brainstorms?
I counter my fair share of Brainstorms.
Okay.
Because
it does help you.
It depends on the context.
And we will fetch on upkeep.
Like, what's happening in the game when they decide to do something about it. Like if I'm obviously digging for something and I'm in really big trouble, I'd be more inclined to.
Hopefully I fix my life total here.
Brainstorms, because I just fixed my hand quite well with that. Like drawing 3 cards, putting 2 bad cards back, and then fetching and drawing a new card is what makes blue so powerful. And
that's why lots of people have blue just splashing it.
That's the only blue deck that doesn't play a full set of Brainstorms. I think.
Yeah, I don't have any blue Brainstorms.
Yeah.
We shuffle away 2 cards before draw step here.
Don't worry. Nobody has ever seen a Brainstorm in that deck.
Sort of explain what's going on to the opponent. If he has some questions about
like
Brainstorm
this deck
and
is really
general
popular,
legacy
so
stuff.
Everybody knows this. It's not like as soon as I do this, everybody's like, oh yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, but that's okay.
Draw step.
Yep.
Draw a fresh card.
Land for turn.
Looks like we got plenty of lands here.
Fetch.
We want to leave Volcanic up, so
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm at 18.
we go down to 18 to fetch another island.
Yeah, I need access to the
And to me, well, oh, well, that's nice. Yeah, so game 1 we saw no indication that this was a Wasteland build. There's a couple of ways to build Merfolk, and when I first started playing Legacy, it was like standstill Wasteland. Now,
yeah, okay, that makes sense. But
let me take that back. When I first started playing Legacy, it was actually pretty late. And we were in the middle of.
Yeah, you lose. Yeah, true.
It kills my land, and
we were in the middle
which might have been what I was trying to do anyway.
Sorry, what's that called? Treasure Cruise. And Chalice Merfolk seemed really strong, so it was my first deck. Around that time, Standstill Wasteland went out of favor a little bit. And I saw no indication that there was Wasteland in his deck, so I'm just going to fetch Volks early in order to have as many blast effects as possible. So, here, there's some confusion about Painter's Servant here. Since he's still on the stack, he actually has to pitch his only blue card in his hand. Like, his worst blue card in his hand appears to be True Name, so I feel like I can't really lose this one.
Is Painter's Servant good? Yeah. Everything is blue.
Yep.
So we name blue and pass the turn.
Now, this makes it... Okay, just checking in with how the...
That's how that works. Now, if we want to Force of Will stuff, we can throw islands.
Everything.
Whatever.
That's cool. I like that.
Go.
Okay.
Are you keeping that on 1?
I think not. No. 2 is better.
All right.
It's a creature. Okay, cool. Creatures. Sweet. So I tap this.
There's a couple of messy parts of this game. Apologies for this one also.
Not creature.
Sorry, man. No problem.
and it doesn't matter. I keep him tapped for my mistake. I pay 2.
Aha.
Play a Chalice of the Void.
Gonna force removing Snapcaster.
Alright.
If I was him, I would feel very uncomfortable about the fact that I chose to
I see.
throw away Snapcaster there, indicating that the rest of my hand is even better
Drop.
than Snap Red Blast.
Alright. I concede.
I don't have.
Ah, you don't have 3 mana, right?
I don't have 3 mana.
I don't have to concede yet.
You do not have to.
Okay, I don't.
I'm
concede
urging
yet.
him not to concede here because
But soon.
you shouldn't concede to the combo being assembled when they
No,
can't
I
activate it.
concede.
Okay.
Also, you should probably make me activate it, right? Anyway, his reaction to Grindstone
I
there,
have 0 ways to remove it from the field.
that kind of nullifies my thought about game 1, about why I scooped without trying to cast Grindstone,
There was no, I
because,
couldn't do anything.
well, he seems fully aware of what happens.
Yes.
Before I look at my stuff.
Yeah.
So if I have the gemstone cavern, I screw myself.
And here we very quickly find ourselves in game 3, and
I see what you're saying, yeah, but I don't think
Painter
you
on the draw, Merfolk on the play.
Sure, man.
Because there's only one of those in the whole deck. I'm just now thinking.
He appears to have 2 Ether Vials,
I swear.
Curse Catcher, Silvergill, Mutavault. This hand is very oh, and an Echoing Truth. This hand seems below average to me. Let's see if he ships it back.
I think so.
You got to mull that, right? Looks like double mulligans. And I appear to have mulliganed out of order. Usually, I don't know if you guys do this too. Let me know if you do, but if I'm on the draw and my hand is absolute garbage, like unkeepable garbage, I 100% stone face it, and I do not talk about my hand until my opponent has said keep or not. The second that they say mulligan, I just shuffle it back into the deck immediately because I had already
it feels good,
decided.
I know, but I need
But if
to-
they're thinking about whether to mull or not, I'm not going to tell them whether I'm keeping my hand. I want them keeping a pretty medium 7,
Alright, I'll keep
you
this
know?
one and scrap
And
one.
they have to say so first. That's just the game.
I play Mutavault,
Top. Yep.
tap, Ethervault.
Turn 1 Ether Vial. And it looks like his hand is loaded with Merfolk and an Echoing Truth.
And then up to 1.
Sure.
That could be bad. He rips Island off the top. Oh, never mind. He must have scried that, right? So
Hey, this, play a Silvergill Adept, and show you.
Silvergill Adept revealing Curse Catcher.
Sure. Is the Merfolk?
He's a Merfolk. Yeah, that resolves.
Okay, so I draw a card.
Okay.
Draws Lord of Atlantis.
This to play the Curse Catcher.
Wait, hold on. You put this ability on the stack. When you put this ability on the stack.
Okay, yeah.
I want to be
don't
sure that he's
display
activating
turn.
Ether
So
Vial
Obviously,
correctly,
I know that
right?
it's in your hand.
Yeah.
But, so
Now you can do stuff. So
This
now
is important to me because of that. Not only because I wanted to Lightning Bolt stuff,
alright.
but because I am...
Yeah, but he's gone.
Right.
I see it now. I see
Yeah,
it.
okay. We're all clear here. Everything is
Yeah,
clear.
sorry.
To be honest, like, you never see somebody main phase
could've countered
a
this.
Curse Catcher like that. So I'm going to punish him for it.
Complicated.
I don't think it was that important, because he was going to end of my turn. Yeah, it's important because then I don't have as much mana.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. So that was a misplay, and then he'll immediately get punished a little bit for it.
I go up to 2.
Sure.
Turn 3 begins with an Ether Vial activation to 2/2.
Oh no. So I do this.
Sure.
Activate.
Okay, then.
Silvergill appears.
Okay.
Show you.
You don't have to reveal.
No reveal.
He was cheating.
We thankfully we stopped him before he revealed anything, and then he draws a card.
That is really cool.
Right?
See if he fires up Mutavault. That's the main concern here.
Cool.
And now,
I'm playing.
playing against Merfolk can be so annoying because
I can attack
we're
the
already thinking about Force of Will.
Phase 1.
We're already thinking about Days. Then
Yes.
on top of that, now there's a Curse Catcher on the field that we have to play around for the rest of the game. And early in the game, we're extremely cinched all tight on mana here.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Servant costs 2, actually. Servant costs 2 mana.
Oh, okay. But to the activated ability is on this is 3, right? Okay. So that needs more time. I see. And an island.
Okay.
This and that. And play the true game.
Hard cast a True Name, and I say that's good.
Then I pass.
Yeah, it appears to me that I have no interest in playing to the board whatsoever, and we're just going to jam our combo and hope we don't die until, you know.
Go ahead.
Painter Servant, everything is blue. Now,
Keep that
it's
as
got
blue,
Echoing Truth
I
up.
believe that is the.
Okay.
The board to me looks like 2, 3, 6. Activated Mutavault, that's 8. It's going to be... I think it'd be almost impossible to manage to get me this turn. But this is almost a guaranteed kill next turn in the combat phase.
2 mana. Play Chalice of the Void.
Grindstone is already down.
That results.
Chalice on 1.
For actually, shit. Now you can do that next.
And I only have 1 mana
That
available.
was a mistake.
The chalice keeps me from doing a lot of stuff, but it doesn't affect this.
Yeah.
So Pyroblast or something forces him to sacrifice Curse Catcher.
If that's okay with you.
All right, untap.
I still do I pay this. Play Echoing True.
Target
Target non-land permanent and all other. I think the more expensive one I'll choose. Yes. Yes. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Then I will go to combat
Sure.
and swing with everybody else.
Is that 6?
Yes.
I'm at 13.
And we'll take 6.
Then I will do. Use the ability to get a.
Some interesting
Plasma image.
choices about when to vial.
I don't draw a card. Play copy this one.
Does it work? Phantasmal image on Silvergill? Because it was already in play. Yeah, no, it just gains.
Okay. Then I choose him.
Really?
Yeah.
It comes into play as
And actually, I think I was unsure about Silvergill here, so we speak to somebody outside of the table.
It enters as a copy?
Yeah.
yeah. And this
Okay,
is
so draw a card or True Name.
I'll draw a card.
Okay.
Yes.
7, 8. 8 on the field? Alright.
Oh yeah, enters as a copy.
Okay.
That's what it says.
Now, the onboard
card's
clock
blue with this, right?
is 10
No.
with
Oh, that was the other
Mutavault.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the painter player
Might as
has...
well just do this. Pay 1 to another ether vial.
Okay.
If the painter... If I have a land, then I can represent
Chef here.
Painter Servant activate, right? No, I can't. So I have to live through the combat step again.
Blue.
We name everything blue again.
Go ahead.
So I have to do lots of damage here.
Okay, so 2, 4, 5, 8.
I go with
Then Mutavault is 10.
Okay.
Then if he has a Lord, it's 4, 6, 9,
3, 4, 7,
12, 15.
9, 11. Well, shit. So I need to do this.
Provided he uses either vial. No, wait, untap. Well, okay.
That's fine.
Yes.
Activate either vial. I say that's fine. Lord of Atlantis appears. Lovely black border, by the way. And now this is lethal on board.
1,
Activate Mutavault.
2,
Okay.
and then swing with everyone but him. Because he can't.
Yep.
I think that is all. 4,
And the board is 4, 6,
no, no.
9,
6,
12,
9,
15.
12, 15.
So 2,
Now, Painter Servant can block Curse Catcher, but that only blocks 2, so that's still 13.
I bolt that.
So we have to attempt to Lightning Bolt.
1 life. And exile this card because it's blue.
I don't know why I put Lightning Bolt in the graveyard. That wasn't...
With an island.
With an island.
Sorry, that's really uncharacteristic of me. I'm sorry. Lightning Bolt was on the stack.
May I block?
So we kill Lord of Atlantis.
Yes. Probably one of the 2.
And we block Mutavault. It doesn't really matter here. True Name does 3, Curse Catcher does 1, Silver Guild does 2, Phantasmal Image does 2.
3, 4, 6, 8 damage.
Okay.
So you have
Go to 4. Sure.
Then you win.
Yep.
Alright. I concede. So close.
Okay. All right.
So close. Well done.
So
I can't. I had the one mana
Ooh.
left for the curse catcher.
Barely able to pay for Curse Catcher here. And we untap and kill him with a Grindstone. Now,
Same counters.
there's some questions about when Echoing Truth should be played here. Well, okay, I don't fully understand his thought process about when he bounced the guy to gain himself a turn. But the math was so close, he knew that if I didn't have interaction to kill a lord, that I was dead. So it seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Cancels the
Cancels
and then I'm dead.
Yeah.
Good game, man. See you next time you come to town. Bye, everybody.
Very close.